He set off for Venezuela from Savannah with a crew of 12 and was never heard from again. The British plane reported its position by radio but mysteriously vanished. 5 planes and those inside never returned. The 13-person plane that went to rescue them also mysteriously disappeared. All of these were just a few of the hundreds of mysterious events that appeared on the newspaper page of Miami Sunday in 1950. The newspaper had shown these along with their routes. I don't know how much you've heard about it, but what's said about it is quite scary. This is a place where ships that pass through are never seen again, and planes mysteriously disappear on radar. It's quite mysterious, especially for people, particularly those near Florida and Puerto Rico. Globally, this place has become a phenomenon. Today, we will thoroughly investigate the mysterious events in the area known as the Bermuda Triangle and follow the rumors. But before that, if you really want me to upload such videos, you can like the video and subscribe to my channel. The Bermuda Devil's Triangle, or just the Devil's Triangle, that's the name they gave it. The reason for this name is the unsolved mysteries that have occurred and are said to have occurred in the 500,000 square mile area within Florida, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda Island. First, we will look at these events in order, and then towards the end of the video, we will learn what happened. The mystery dates back to Christopher Columbus. In 1492, during Christopher Columbus's first voyage towards the New World, that is, the continent of America, he wrote about experiencing strange events. This 360-page book is a translation of the notes taken between 1492 and 93. It appears that Columbus took an interesting note on Saturday, September 15th. It was just the beginning of the night. They saw a tremendous fireball falling from the sky towards the sea. Some interpreted what they saw as UFOs, or celestial bodies. Just 2 days after this event, something even more mysterious happened on Monday, September 17th. The crew had marked the compass, but the compass was not pointing to the North Star. Columbus continued. The sailors were scared and overwhelmed, but they didn't say why. The admiral actually knew why. He said to mark the north again at dawn. The crew continued on their way the next day, but they never forgot this incident. Towards January, Columbus saw a light appearing and described it as a rising and setting small wax candle. His son Ferdinand, however, described it as a candle going up and down. He saw this as a reason for their approach to the shore and did not note it as an unexplained event. What did they see? Why did the compass shift in another direction? And why was the crew scared? The United States ship Cyclops incident was a cargo ship built for the United States Navy during World War I. Cyclops. Sometime after March 4th, 1918, the ship passing through the area known as the Bermuda Triangle disappeared without a trace, with a total of 306 crew and passengers. None of them were ever reached again. This was the largest loss of life in United States maritime history, not directly related to war. The ship set sail from Rio de Janeiro on February 16th. First it went to Salvador, then 2 days later it headed towards Baltimore. The ship then proceeded towards St. Kitts, passed through an area known as Bermuda City, and after that, no trace was found. Was that all there was to it? What was the mystery behind all these events? The mystery of Flight 19. Florida, December 5th, 1945. Eastern Time, 1410. A fleet of 5 planes took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The flight was commanded and led by Charles Tyler. It was a training flight. It was the 19th flight just before graduation. They had set a route for themselves. They were going to complete the flight over this route. As they proceeded on the route they had set, the compasses of their planes seemed to be malfunctioning. They immediately reported this via radio. They had lost their direction. The towers in the area were trying to communicate with them. Lieutenant Tyler, with the experience brought by the years, had not cared about the situation as much as not to disgrace his students. About 4 hours later, at 1750, the Navy plane's location was determined. They were 124 miles north of their routes. The Martin PBM-5 plane, which took off at 1927 to guide them, disappeared from sight 23 minutes after takeoff. No one could believe what happened. Meanwhile, those inside a tanker near the shore reported seeing an explosion and flames. The last signals were heard 5 hours after takeoff from the fleet of 5 planes. The signals received were just static because they were very far away. Interestingly, they had turned their direction to the east and were moving towards the ocean. No more news was received from those on Flight 19. This was one of the most sensational events ever for the Bermuda Triangle. Had they disappeared in a fog cloud, or were traces of extraterrestrial beings seen after the investigations? Star Airlines' passenger plane named Star Tiger, with 25 passengers and 6 crew members, took off at 15:34 on January 29, 1948 for a journey from Lisbon to Bermuda Island. The weather was rainy and there was strong wind. After approximately 10 hours of travel, at 1:26, another plane that was an hour ahead of Star Tiger gave a warning that the wind was getting stronger. Star Tiger had passed Newfoundland, which was its route without an emergency alternative, and chose to stay on its route. At 3:15, the Star Tiger plane had managed to communicate with the tower in Bermuda. This was the last conversation Star Tiger had with the tower on the island of Bermuda. They tried to communicate intermittently for a full 1 hour and 25 minutes, but were unsuccessful. The Star Tiger passenger plane quietly disappeared 440 miles northeast of Bermuda. Coincidentally, about a year later, on January 17, 1949, the Star Leon plane approaching Bermuda experienced engine failure, and it was forced to land in Bermuda. But that's not the coincidence. All the passengers were transferred to a plane named Star Ariel. The people on the plane were going to Jamaica. The weather was clear with great visibility. Star Ariel departed at 08:41 in the morning with 7 crew and 13 passengers. But shortly thereafter, it disappeared suddenly within about an hour, right in the area known as the Bermuda Triangle. No communication could be established with the Star Ariel plane. A search operation was conducted over an area of 140,000 square meters until January 22nd, but no signs of wreckage were found. 2 planes disappeared without a trace a year apart. But what really happened to them? Bermuda Devil's Triangle and facts. Bermuda Devil's Triangle is paranormal for most people and ordinary for some. But what makes this place mysterious or paranormal is actually just the unsolved mysteries. But perhaps there is a logical explanation for everything. The fireball, bright light, and compass deviations that Columbus wrote in his notes during his journey to America could actually be explained. The fireball he saw was a meteorite. It had fallen near them by chance. Just as it sometimes happens today, this incredible sight was seen in a clear sky back then. The change in the compass was magnetic declination, something they didn't know yet. In fact, a simple magnetic declination adjustment would have been enough to correct this, and the problem was solved when they recalibrated according to the North Star. In fact, what's more important is that none of these events even occurred near the Bermuda Triangle. Reports of the United States ship Cyclops incident revealed that the ship, with a maximum capacity of 8,000 tons, was overloaded. Before leaving the port, Commander Varley had submitted a report stating that the starboard engine had a cracked cylinder and was not working. Also, some parts of a telegram sent by Charles Ludlow to the United States Department of State had changed the course of the event. The engines are in poor condition. The telegram goes on to mention problems among the people on the ship and finally says this: even though there's no solid basis, I fear a fate worse than sinking. Charles Ludlow Livingston. Probably due to greed, overloading caused disputes on the ship. And actually, this is what Ludlow was talking about. Moreover, when a storm was added to the mix, it spelled their doom. Flight 19 was one of the events that affected me the most. The mysterious disappearance of 5 planes that took off for flight training. But the details show us that this was not mysterious. After takeoff, one of the students took over as flight leader and Tyler was supervising. The compasses were malfunctioning. When they turned west during the flight, Tyler thought they were going the wrong way and took control. Tyler contacted via radio saying, "Both of my compasses are broken. I'm trying to find Fort Lauderdale where we took off. I'm sure we're in Florida Case, but I don't know exactly where," he had said. Lieutenant Tyler made an incredible mistake because while they were actually progressing here, he thought they were here. He thought logically if he went a little further, he would reach the land. He continued to progress, but the land was not visible. Thinking they had drifted a bit, he considered going east and reaching the land. But in fact, he was heading towards the Atlantic. Another wrong decision he made was to drag all his students behind him. 5 planes and 14 pilots continued to advance towards the ocean until their fuel ran out. Imagine you're advancing in the ocean and your fuel is running out. There's not a single person coming to rescue you because you didn't know where you were. I guess they must have lost their lives after enduring for only 1-2 days. This is truly a horrific end and a tragic event. As I mentioned before, the first one was the Star Tiger plane that took off from Lisbon in 1948. When we look at the 60-page report, it is mentioned in the last paragraph as an unknown event whose mystery has not yet been solved. In fact, they are looking at the events the way they want to see them. There were chronic problems in the heaters of Star airplanes. Probably the heater broke down and the pilot flew around 2,000 feet to avoid reducing the temperature. This meant that they would face even stronger winds. The wind was already stronger that day than other days. They consumed a lot of fuel and they couldn't predict this. They probably wanted to turn back after passing the nearest emergency route, but they didn't have enough fuel for the remaining journey. Maybe they continued on their way to reach Bermuda, and again, they ran out of fuel. It's unknown which one they chose, but this was a big mistake, first in the design of the airplane and then by the pilot. This mysterious event was also associated with the Bermuda Triangle, but just like with Columbus, this had nothing to do with the Bermuda Triangle. Except for the Star Ariel plane, which was his brother's. Exactly a year later, this incident occurred within the Devil's Triangle. The plane disappeared in the ocean while traveling from Bermuda to Jamaica and was never heard from again. Another interesting detail was that the pilot's last message to the tower was that they were at 10,000 feet and visibility was good. But they had not spoken about any problem, no conversation at all. This indicated that the pilots were assassinated or the plane exploded. Research revealed that these planes had a chronic malfunction. Heaters. The report also mentioned that one of the heaters in the cabin was not repaired. It even stated that the heating failure caused discomfort to the passengers. According to the estimate of one of the experienced pilots, the hydraulic vapor from the crack reached the hot air and caused an explosion. It also explained why these pilots fell silent. The Bermuda Devil's Triangle may be seen as an area where no one passes, shrouded in mysterious dark clouds in the eyes of many of you. In fact, if you look, hundreds of ships pass through there every day. Hundreds of planes fly over it. This area has not been declared a dangerous zone by any government either. All that happened was either due to neglect or misfortune. All the planes that went missing at that time are now at the bottom of the sea. If you ask why this place became famous while so many events were happening in the world, everything was actually due to a library. In the 1970s, this book written by Charles Berlitz about the disappearances in Bermuda even made it to the bestseller list. There is a rational reason behind the events in Bermuda. However, why the compasses malfunction, the real reason triggering the explosions is not exactly known. Despite being filled with exaggerated stories, this place is still a mysterious one, and it will continue to remain so. I'm Enigma. If you want a second content about what happened, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you later.